Shivers, The Enchanted Attic by M.D. Spencer. Chapter 16. Nicole rummaged through the drawers of the big wooden desk, searching for the key to the padlock. Casey, meanwhile, looked underneath the desk. "Maybe somebody dropped it on the floor," she said. Nicole ignored her. She looked first in the bottom left-hand drawer, where she had found the key to the attic. She lifted up the Fowler family history, sending another small cloud of dust billowing, and looked under it. Nothing. But surely the key would be here in the desk, where the other key had been hidden. Why would someone keep keys in different places? She realized that the last time she was here, she had only looked in the drawers on the left-hand side. She had found the key to the attic before she had even opened the 3 drawers on the right side of the desk. She opened the top right-hand drawer now. She found papers, yellowed with age, some so brittle they cracked and crumbled in her hands. But no key. In the second drawer, she found more papers, but no key. And in the third drawer, the same. Another dead end. Nicole put her elbows on the desk, dropped her head into her hands, and closed her eyes to think. Casey spoke up. "If we had, a really long pole that we could pry with," she said, "maybe we could, pry the lock open until it broke." Nicole looked up. A smile spread over her face. She jumped up. "Casey, you're brilliant," she exclaimed. "Come with me." And she grabbed Casey by the hand and pulled her toward the side door to the house, the one through which they had tumbled on that day they had first explored the passageway together. The 2 girls stood outside the ramshackle shed that leaned crazily behind the house on the side opposite where the family graveyard lay. "There has got to be a crowbar in here," Nicole said. But the door to the shed was locked. Everything around here was locked, thought Nicole. Whatever you try to do, you run into one lock after another. Still, it didn't look as if getting into the shed should be a problem. It was old and rickety and practically falling apart on its own. Nicole found a board that was loose. She swung it to one side. There was a narrow gap where the board had been, but it was too narrow to squeeze through, especially if you didn't want to get pierced by a rusty nail or 2. She saw a window with some of the panes broken out, but she could not open it. She walked around to look at the front door again. The lock looked solid. Then she looked at the hinges that fastened the door to the shed. There were 2 of them, one about eye level, the other at about the level of her knees. Both looked like they were coming loose. She dug behind the upper hinge with her fingers. The nails holding the hinge in place slid easily out of the rotten wood. The hinge pulled away from the wall. Then she tried the lower one. It too came loose. "Help me," Nicole said, grabbing the side of the door that would have stayed closed if the hinges had still been in place. Together, she and Casey worked the door open, lifting and pulling and grunting, using the padlock as a hinge. Suddenly, from the inside, the dim light of the shed, came a great whirring of wings. Nicole looked up and saw a swarm of shapes rising up in the gloom and fly toward the door. "Look out!" she screamed. "Bats!" The swarm was headed right for their faces. The girls hurled themselves to the ground, wrapping their arms around their heads for protection. The bats flew out the door in a thick cloud, passing so close to the girls that they could feel the air from the beating of the wings. Nicole lay on the ground gasping. Casey opened one eye and looked at the departing swarm. "Nicole," she said, "I think it was birds." Nicole opened her eyes. The birds darted and swooped and flew off through the trees into the gray, cloud-filled sky. Nicole let out a deep sigh. They had obviously frightened some barn swallows when they had opened the door of the shed, and the barn swallows had obviously frightened them in return. The girls got to their feet and explored the shed. A little light leaked in through the broken windows. Once their eyes adjusted to the darkness, the girls could make out objects leaning against the walls. There was a shovel. Nicole's mind wandered to the tombstones just across the way. She wondered how many graves this shovel had dug. They saw a rake and a long-handled pick. A sledgehammer lay on the floor next to some metal wedges used to split logs in two for firewood. A two-man saw hung in the corner, a wooden handle attached to each end. Nicole kept looking. She stepped deeper into the shed. Her toe clanked against something hard. She reached down and found what she had been looking for. A crowbar. "Come on," she said to her sister. "Let's go."